I'd rather see you in my dreams. And every chance to dance I'll take if I can't see you again. I'd rather see you in my dreams. And every chance to dance I'll take if I can't see you again. We could be listening for answers, waiting to be set free. You came across this moment, and I'm so thankful you shared it with me. We could be listening for answers, waiting to be set free. You came across this moment, and I'm so thankful you shared it with me.
Falling away as I'm searching for the break of a day to follow away to you. 'Cause at the end of the day, I ain't looking for no reason to change. 'Cause everything is good for you. Baby, I can see we're gonna shout it out to the sky. Tell our secrets to the night, so we can see the end inside. We're gonna shout it out to the sky. When I look into your eyes, I can see no better light, better light than love. to the sky till I see grace to the night, so we can see the end in sight. We're gonna shout it out to the sky when I look into your eyes. I can see no better light, better light than love. We're gonna shout it out to the
Happy Wednesday, everybody! How are we doing? How are we doing? We doing well? Welcome to Myles Dyer Live. For anyone who's not familiar with the show, this time, every Wednesday, we hang out, we have fun, we sometimes talk about serious issues like mental health and well-being, like we will be doing today, world events, life hacks, all sorts. And other times, we have a bit more fun, talking about movies, games, quizzes, all sorts. And it's always just a good hangout. I am currently running on empty in the sense that the last 2 days I've been at film shoots for work in London. It has meant waking up at 5 a.m. Although this morning I got a bit of a lie-in. I got to wake up at 6 a.m. Getting to my friend Alex's house, who is actually doing the filming. And then we do a 2-hour drive to the other side of London, film the entire day, pack up, come back. I am very much looking forward to bed. It's 9 p.m. here in the UK. I've not had dinner yet, so I didn't have time just before this show because I wanted to make sure I had everything in place because I have a really great show lined up, I hope, because it is Mental Health Awareness Month, it being May 2023. There are all these like mental health weeks, mental health days, at different times of the year. And the truth is, every day is a mental health awareness day. But this is one of the big flagship national months, or international months, should I say. And on Friday, I actually gave a session called Mind Matters, all about mental health and well-being. Some of my top tips. I gave this at work. It was well received, and I thought, because I knew I was going to have not much time with how much I was away from home the last couple of days, I thought, why not give the presentation on my live show tonight? There'll be some of you that actually remember a year ago I gave a similar talk, and the truth is that this is a similar talk. But for those of you that have heard a lot of these tips that I'm going to be talking about today, they're going to be helpful reminders. And when I went through this presentation, they were helpful reminders for me as well, because the way I think about it in life is when you are trying to, create positive habits, perhaps unlearn negative ones. Whenever you're trying to change behavior, it's like a juggling exercise. Now, I'm someone who can't juggle. If anyone in the chat can juggle, let me know. I'd be very, very impressed. But I find that when you're juggling, and this may be a really bad metaphor, but it's the idea that as I start getting the hang of some things, I drop others, because you keep adding to the juggling cycle, and you're like, oh, maybe I can do this good thing, and then you drop one that you're already dealing with. And so there are going to be a lot of helpful reminders today. But before we get to that, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you are new to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified about all future live shows. And hit the like button if you can. It's going to be a good one today. In terms of my schedule and what happens on this channel, a bit of a background check. Every Wednesday, I host Myles Dyer Live. This is the flagship show. That is the wrong image. Uh-oh. Why has it done that? Have I got the new one? No, I don't have the new one. Although I might do. Do I? I don't have the new one. Oh, well. But yeah, Myles Dyer Live is every Wednesday. And every Friday, I host PSVR Without Parole, Gamescast Live on their YouTube channel. All of these details can be found in the description to this live show or on my channel page. I've made lovely playlists for all of that. And then at the weekend, we do Let's Plays, usually in virtual reality. We did Townsend VR last weekend, which was a good bit of fun. We're going to do something a bit more action-orientated this weekend, which also allows for some participation from any of you PSVR players out there that want to jump into some multiplayer. So I will be giving details about that a little bit later. But also, right now, there is a puzzle happening with the thumbnail of this live show. The link should be pinned in the live show description. And as you can see, it's a bit of a mess at the moment. It is a 390-piece puzzle. And for those that haven't done it before, you just click on a piece, and then you click on another, and it swaps it around. If it flashes green, it means you've now got it in the right position. If it goes red, it means you've undone something. But already, the Myles Dyer Live bit has been done very, very well. There are 259 pieces left. It's just a nice bit of fun to get on with while the live show is happening. Also, with a bit of housekeeping, you can stay in contact with me via my website, milesdyer.com, where you can find all of my links. But I'm primarily active on Instagram and Twitter. And if you're ever tweeting about the show, use the hashtag Quest for Empathy, because that's the quest that I believe that we're all on. And you can always drop me an email, contact@milesdyer.com. I have been so busy lately, and last weekend I had been building a Discord server for this community. I have made massive progress with it. I'm just setting up the bots now, and I hope to get that done this coming weekend. But, you know, no unnecessary pressure. If it gets done, great. If not, there's always the following weekend, because the plan was to have a place, a digital space where all of you, after the live show, when the live chat kicks you off, when I close it down, you have somewhere to go and continue these conversations. And it's been a really fun exercise. And the plan was to get it done by, I think, June. But I thought, let's move it up to May. So if that gets done in the next couple of weeks, it's all very, very exciting. So please stay tuned for that as well. Before we get on with a bit more, talking about vitamin G and my Dyer Discovery this week. What has everyone been up to this week? Is everyone having a good time? Let's just see who's in the chat. We've got Capt F Castle. Hey, welcome. We've got Mojo, who was enjoying the music at the start. If you want to know who those tunes were, I've actually tweeted them with links to their Twitter accounts, so you can check them out. I want to say hi to Time to Play VR, Indigo Whispers, good to see you here. Karina, good to see you. Cali Timecat, Chaos. We've got Coco Dadiva, hello. We've got Mark, good to see you here. We've got Aled Parry, good to see you here. Kawa. Some people haven't actually been able to stick around but stopped by to say hi. I love that. We've got Kira, Roy, loads and loads of people, and a few of you were celebrating 9 months as members, Karina and Mark, I believe. So huge love to you. Thank you for the support. And hey Jay, good to see you here as well. Look at all these hellos, lovely people. And Aled was taking a photo of me by the looks of it. Good to see you all. We always like to start this show with a moment of reflection. We like to practice something called vitamin G. And actually, this will be something we talk about on my slides around mental health and well-being. But vitamin G is something that I think is great to practice daily. It's taking that moment just to think about what you are grateful for. It could be a person, it could be a moment, it could be a thing. And just the act of acknowledging something you're grateful for internally can have powerful impacts of positivity within you. But of course, if it's a person, why not drop them a message and just explain or express your appreciation. It might be a family member or a friend or a colleague. It might be someone that works in a small business that served you well, or maybe someone who works in a big corporate. Often in times, we assume that they know that people are doing a good job or that they've been doing great. But sometimes we just don't know what people are going through. And so just spending a moment just to send a message of appreciation, it can really, change someone's life. So my question for you is, what are you grateful for this week? Every week it's like, now it's you to tell me what you're grateful for. Callie Timecat says, Vit G of the day, it has gone surprisingly well despite a brief IT glitch. Always IT glitches, but that is good. I'm glad you've had a great day. Kira says, grateful that my hard work paid off and I have a job interview tomorrow, prepping for it right now to combat that social anxiety. Well, huge good luck for tomorrow, Kira. Hopefully some of the tips we talk about today, which are about mental health and well-being generally, might help you with dealing with combating that social anxiety. But look, being nervous about an interview is totally normal. It means that you care, you're invested in the moment. And I'm sure I'm not the only one here that is wishing you all the best for that tomorrow. Time to Play VR says, I'm grateful for my phone breaking because when I want to buy a new one, I bump into Paradise Decay. Interesting. It's a reason to get a new one, maybe. Indigo says, I'm grateful for my health and getting through my recent health struggles. That's really, really good to hear. Karina, grateful that my Poland-based dad is finally visiting me in London soon. Not being able to do so for a variety of reasons for the last 16 years. Wow. That's a long time. And I hope, you say soon. Hopefully, it's soon enough. But I mean, after 16 years, anything would seem soon, right? So, that's amazing. Alid says, in line with tonight's topic, I'm very grateful for my therapist. I've been working with him for a couple of years, and he's brilliant working with me. Therapists are just incredible people. Obviously, there are some rare occasions where they might not be great. I can think of a lot of therapists that I've dealt with in my life, especially the last one I had completely changed my life. Incredible souls. Let's have a look here. Callie Time Cat says, also, I'm grateful to many of my friends, even the ones whom I only touch base with relatively rarely. That's good to hear. So Roy in the chat, I'm not going to put his message on screen just because unless he's okay with me to do so. I mean, he's put it in the chat, but he just says, hey man, sorry to seem heavy, but I'm a stage 4 lung and bone cancer patient, which is just absolutely terrible. And so sorry to hear that, dude. I mean, words will never be able to live up to such a harsh reality. And he says, my mental health is scattered, which is totally understandable. I deal with alcohol. Do you recommend meditation? Meditation is a really, really powerful tool, and it is something I will be talking about a bit later. But it's always difficult in these situations because, like, I can't even begin to imagine what it's been like going through what you do. And so I just want to send huge love out to you, Roy. And I know the chat will be wishing you well as well. But when it comes to meditation, and not to sort of preempt a lot of what I'm going to be talking about in a bit, it is about being grounded in the moment. We can often get lost in the future or the past, things that have happened to us or things that are going to happen. But the harsh reality is all we have is now. And so meditation can be a great way of, becoming grounded. But something I would definitely recommend if you've never tried it is try a flotation tank. People always think that I work for these companies because I go on about them, but I really don't. They're just absolutely life-changing and such a great way of, mentally resetting. And they seem to be popping up everywhere at the moment. But yeah, that'll be my starting point. But hopefully some of the tips I talk about later can bring some comfort to you as well. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts throughout this conversation. But yeah. Let's have a look here. Chaos says, grateful for that game of Synth Riders we got to play last week together. It was good fun. And thank you for everyone who tuned into that. Really, really, really good. Huge love going to Roy and Karina. But yeah, awesome. Thank you, everyone, for sharing all them. Now it's for Dyer Discovery. Dyer Discoveries. This is a bit of a weird one this week. So at the weekend, I was a bit rushed and I needed to do some food shopping. And so I was sort of stuck at home, like just woken up and I wasn't sure what to eat. And so we've been talking a lot about AI recently. And I actually decided to just put all of my ingredients in my cupboard, like all the herbs and spices, all the things in my fridge and freezer. And I just said, give me a recipe. And it came up with a recipe, which I am going to do a social post at some point. And it was actually really, really tasty. And so I'm thinking of actually doing a full audit of my fridge and freezer and cupboards of everything. And keep crossing stuff off as I use it and just see what other recipes it can come up with. It came up with here. It was called... the savoury breakfast bowl with a twist. Although when I asked for a social post, it actually called it Morning Glory Pasta Bowl. It says, rise and shine, food lovers. Kickstart your day with our delightful new breakfast recipe, the Morning Glory Pasta Bowl, loaded with whole wheat fusilli pasta tossed with tangy Greek yogurt sauce. This dish is a true symphony of flavours. We've added in slices of creamy avocado, sun-dried tomatoes and crumbled feta cheese that perfectly complement the crunchy southern fried chicken strips. The grand finale, a beautifully cooked sunny side up egg, a drizzle of smoky ketchup, and a splash of soy sauce for an extra flavour kick. This dish not only tastes heavenly, but also packs in a perfect balance of protein, carbs, and healthy fats, an ideal way to fuel up for a busy day ahead. Trust me, breakfast has never tasted better. Do you want to see what it was when I made it? This is how it looked. If it manages. There we go. That was it. And it was actually a massive bowl, so that was only part of it. And I have to say, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. The Greek yogurt sauce was a bit thin. I think it could have given more specifications on quantities of different ingredients, but it was really, 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 really good. Yeah, it was amazing. And so I am thinking of maybe doing more recipes with ChatGPT. It could be interesting. I'm someone who does like to cook, but often I'm stuck with the paralysis of choice. But the other thing I discovered in terms of food was today when I was in London for this film shoot, I had something I've never had before. And this is one of those things, we talk about the gasp list of movies a couple of weeks ago, of, you know, movies you've not seen that make people go, you've not seen it? Well, this is in terms of food. Today was the first time I ever had falafel. Today was the first time I ever had falafel, and I had it at a place called Grow that was in Hackney, and it had halloumi on it, and it was absolutely amazing. Super, super, super tasty. They were a bit mortified, though, that I asked to remove the pickles, because I'm someone who doesn't like pickles, but this was really, really good. So, yeah, I mean, I've had like bits of falafel before in other things, but I've never like gone out there and absolutely, just chosen that particular item. So, yeah, I had a really, really good time with that. So, two things. Awesome ChatGPT breakfast bowl. And then I also then had some falafel today. So those were two of my discoveries. The other final thing I would say for Dyer Discoveries this week is next week, quite possibly next week, it might be something else. We're going to be talking about a video I mentioned, which is called the AI Dilemma. So if you haven't already, do check out the AI Dilemma. It's a 1-hour presentation on YouTube, but only watch it when you are... I was just watching Captain F. Castle saying, for fuck's sake, now I have to go fry some halloumi. But yeah, only watch it when you're feeling decent or above, because it will take you down a couple of notches. It's a pretty scary sort of state of affairs with the AI arms race that is happening. And there've been two stories this week, actually. A senior founder of AI left Google so he could speak out about it more often. So yeah, lots and lots of food envy. They look a bit like Scotch eggs. Well, they definitely have the texture of them. That is for sure. All right, everyone. I will tell you a little bit later today about what the Let's Play is going to be this weekend. But for now, it's time to get on with the main part of the show, which is mental health and well-being. A couple of things. This is in the description of this video. I want to preface this by saying that I am not a qualified mental health and well-being professional. I did psychology at university. I've been a long advocate of mental health and well-being. I do believe in the power of sharing experiences. But if you ever do need help, please do. Karina has seen that presentation, by the way, saying that presentation is as scary as it is good, and she's talking about the AI one, not the one I'm about to give. She hasn't seen that yet, and hopefully it's not scary, but instead a comfort. But yeah, if you find yourself that you are in a particularly dark place and struggling, please do speak to someone. I have got some international helplines in the description of this video, so no matter where you are in the world, hopefully there is someone that you can call. It is okay to reach out and get help, and I have nothing but love and best wishes to anyone that is watching this, whether live or on replay. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to hopefully get these slides working. So to begin with, this is called Mind matters. Life hacks for better mental health and well-being. And something that I should have probably done to begin with is set up my actual camera. So let me see if I can do this now, actually. I'm just going to give it a go. Oh, do you know what I can do, actually? I can grab it from a different feed. So is that going to work? Yeah. Copy that and then go back to here and then, oh. Right, let's have a look. Is this going to work? There we go. Cool. So now you can see me, so I can keep this on screen at all times. Although for this one, I might put myself up here and actually change the shape to, I should see, this is what I should have done in pre-production, but I've been so pushed for time. Let's go with a squircle. Squircle? Or should we go with, should we do a squircle? Yeah, let's do a squircle. Squircle works. So I will put myself in this corner up here. So mind matters, life hacks for better mental health and well-being. And this does mean actually now I need to drag in the slides one at a time so I don't keep losing my camera. So is this going to work? It does indeed. Great. So before we start, just a few friendly reminders. This is just one perspective. This is my perspective. You know, when it comes to mental health and well-being, we all have different environments. We all have different backgrounds of how we got to where we are today. We have different biological makeup. This is just one perspective, and unfortunately, like many things in life, it's not one size fits all. But hopefully there will be one or two things in here that you find, oh, that actually might work for me. You can go away and try it and hopefully progress in your journey to, you know, happiness and a general sense, better sense of well-being. Secondly, join the conversation if you wish. That doesn't need to be said because I know you're all chatting in the chat right now. I'll do my best to bring in conversations when I can, but I want this to be a safe space, and I will be mindful not to bring up people's comments. I mean, they're going to be on the live stream afterwards anyway, so I guess I could bring them up. And finally, as I've mentioned, this is not professional guidance. This is just a friend with advice, if you could think of it like that. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a series of different themes and topics about things that have worked for me. And I haven't nailed all these things, as I mentioned earlier. Sometimes I juggle. I get one thing right, and then something I was getting right already, I dropped, and that's fine. We're all works in progress. Okay, so firstly, the power of language. How does your inner monologue shape your world? Now, when I studied psychology at university, and I've got some of my old books up there, linguistics, I was absolutely fascinated by. I loved studying language and the idea of what it is to be human. And when it comes to language, language impacts perception. Now, what do I mean by that? When people think of language, they often think about our ability to communicate with other people. But the reality is the majority of language takes place within ourselves. It allows us to communicate with ourselves with an inner monologue. It's how we think. And so the language that we learn and take on board with everything that we do, with the books that we read, with the news we consume, the social media we bathe in quite often, this can all have an impact on our worldview. Once upon a time, there was no sense of the colour blue. The colour blue was actually a relatively modern invention. When you look back in terms of documentation, in previous civilizations and ages, blue was just something that was accounted for among the colour green. The sky wasn't described as blue. And so that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. But also there are certain... my chat has gone quiet, supposedly. Or chat has gone quiet. Everyone is listening here. No, that's good to know. That's good to know. there are also, communities in the world that don't have words for left, right, front and back. Instead, they describe everything as north, south, east and west. So when you're out and about and they say, which hand, it will be your northern or your southern hand or eastern or western. And that for me seems really, really complicated. But that is just because of the language that they use. There are some communities in the world, some people that do not have a word for, don't have the word tree. Because tree doesn't actually describe anything when you live in those environments where there are trees everywhere. Instead, they have individual names for trees. And so language impacts our perception and the way we think. It's why that you would see across cultures there are different ways of thinking based on how languages are structured. And if we think in more modern times, if you are someone that consumes news and media that breaks everything down into extremes, always capital language, capital letters, always taking the nuance out of things, always being very hyperbolic, then it's likely that that is going to be how you perceive the world. Whereas if you're someone that reads a lot of different, from a lot of different sources, you have a much bigger vocabulary. Doesn't necessarily mean that, being educated with vocabulary leads to better thoughts, but it changes the way that you think because you're able to describe the world that you see in your mind in more nuanced ways. So what does this have to do with mental health and well-being? Well, often when it comes to anxiety or feeling depressed, it can be to do with the thoughts that we have in our head, and we can, rehearse them again and again. But one of my favourite tips, and I've done an Instagram reel on this that some of you may have seen and from last year when talking about this, is one of my top tips is to use the word could and not should. Now, when I gave this presentation on Friday, at the end, I then used the word should and not could. I did correct myself, but the point is, it's something we always have to keep in check. Now, why does this matter? Because often in life, we always say, I should have done that. I should have done that. And we kind of mentally punish ourselves for inactions or sometimes actions. And what it does is it also has a negative impact in the sense that we don't get to take credit for things that we do. So here's for an example. Let's say that you do have a deadline for a piece of work and you meet the deadline and you hand it in. The reality is you should have done it because it was a deadline that you had to do. But the reality is it was a choice. Okay, you had a deadline, it was to do with work. But you could have chosen not to do it still. Okay, you might have got fired or been disciplined, gone through disciplinary. But it was always a choice. And so although there was a deadline, you achieved it and you did it because you could. And that's quite an empowering thing. Whereas if you do achieve something and you say, well, I did it because I should, you kind of take away that credit. So using the word could is a really empowering thing. But it also means you're not beating yourself over the head with a mental stick when you don't get things done. I shouldn't have done that. No, you could have done it and you didn't do it, but you could do it next time. So could, not should. Highly recommend that. This first slide is always a big one when talking about language. It's a really, really big topic. Next up, the gift of our present. Now, Roy was asking earlier about meditation. Now, this isn't always about meditation, but mindfulness, and meditation is one way of achieving that. All we truly have is now. And as it says here, the best time is now. The past and the future can be human strengths, but also human weaknesses. Humans have the wonderful talents or abilities of being able to look in the past through memories and to learn from those experiences and use that to invest in the way that we behave now and thus into the future. But we also have the power to look into the future with foresight. We can plan ahead, and that can be brilliant as well. So those are superpowers in many ways. It's great that we can do that as humans. But they can also be weaknesses in the sense that with memories, you can find yourself getting lost in things that have happened. Again, I should have done this, should have done that, or, you know, dealing with trauma, some things that are much harder to detach from. Memories create the person that we are today. And looking into the future, we can worry about things that haven't even happened yet. When the truth is, the reality we are dealing with is now. Now is all we have. Now is all we have control of. And so mindfulness can be a really powerful anchor to stay in the present. But one more thing I would say about this is, you know, I was saying it's a great human traits to be able to look through memories and look into the future with foresight. When we think of animals, and I'll just go full screen here for the minute. When we think of animals, you can imagine like quite a cliche example of an animal in the wild, let's say in the jungle, and let's say a tiger jumps out, going with a really, really cliche example right now. But let's just say a tiger jumps out, and this prey would think, oh shit, okay? That's in the moment, that's in the present. Oh shit. And let's say it gallops away, and let's say it escapes. Thank goodness, right? What's the animal going to think next? Oh, piece of grass. Starts eating, munching on grass, you know, starts grazing again. Okay? Now, let's take that example with a human. Let's say a human is about and a tiger jumps out. Not, you know, in your local street. Let's just say you're in places you shouldn't be. Maybe you've gone into the tiger enclosure, or maybe you're out on safari. But a tiger jumps out. You're going to have the same initial reaction. Oh, shit. You know, in the present. And you try and run away. And let's just say you were very lucky. You climb up a tree, you run away. Let's say you escape the tiger. What's your next thought going to be? Now, it might be, okay, what to do now? But it's more likely going to be the negatives of the past and the future. Negatives of the past of the what ifs. What if it tore me apart? What if it killed me? All these things. But it also might be tormenting about the future. What if there is a tiger around there? What if there's a tiger around there? Now, there are evolutionary advantages about this. I don't want to sort of just say that, you know, oh, we should never think about what's just happened to us and what's going to happen next. The truth is, we are more susceptible to negative occurrences. And the reason why is, let's say we've missed a positive opportunity. Okay? Yeah. Okay, we've missed that opportunity, but more will come. But if we miss a negative opportunity or a negative occurrence, that could lead to death. If it's a tiger, you get that wrong, that's it. Often when it comes to negative occurrences, you only get one shot. And so you have to be hyper vigilant about those things. Whereas if you miss, you know, finding some food, if you're, you know, rummaging, you know, foraging for food, again, think of sort of out in the world examples. You might miss that food there, but you might find some a bit later. It's not to say there aren't negative consequences with it, but that is the sort of the strengths and the weaknesses of looking at memories in the past and foresight into the future. So going back here, mindfulness is our anchor to the present. And that does come through many ways, like meditation. It's about thinking where we are now. And one of the best anchors is the breath. And far too often in life, we never really experience what it's like to take a full breath. And so, like, we could just try it now. Just take one deep breath all the way in. All the way in, so your lungs, you feel it in your diaphragm. Just hold it for a couple of seconds. And then let that breath all the way out. And just doing it a couple of times. All the way in. Holding it at the top for a couple of seconds. And then letting it out. Just doing that at moments can be such a grounding experience, because in that moment you're thinking about the breath and the now, and it takes you away from the noise of thinking about the future and dealing with the past. But the truth is, all it takes is a glass of water, or when you're making yourself a cup of tea or a coffee. Here I've got not a glass but a cup of water, but just holding it now, I could take a moment to think about the sensation on the hands. I could think about the pressure points on my finger, like where the weight of the cup is, the coolness of the water on my hands. You can think about all these things and just being present. Sometimes when we're eating food, are we actually enjoying the moment? Are we thinking about the taste of what we're eating, or are we being distracted by other things? Being grounded in the moment is such a powerful thing. Next up, ecotherapy, as I'm calling it. When was the last time you truly observed nature? And this, plays into mindfulness in many ways. Now, Shinrin-yoku is a Japanese phrase for forest bathing. And it's the idea that by spending time among nature, among trees, is good for your mental health. And there is a lot of research that goes into this. Spending time with nature, because we are nature, we're from nature. We often try and live above it in concrete jungles and all that sort of stuff. But just going out and spending some time with grass and trees, I know hay fever can be a challenge, but it can regulate many stress-related hormones. It can lower cortisol or adrenaline. It can increase endorphins. It can do many physiological. It can bring many physiological benefits to the body. And so spending as little as 30 minutes a day among nature, if you can, just going to a park and just being aware of the trees and nature. I'm very fortunate that I live just by some lakes, but it can be absolutely amazing, especially as the sun is starting to come out more as we approach the summer. And long walks aren't required. Even going for just 10 minutes can be incredible. And, getting sunlight first thing in the morning or towards the end of the day can be really impactful as well. Wind, rain and the grass is awesome while laying down in the garden or woods. I love the sound of rain as well. I actually have that on my sleep cycle app, so really, really great there. There's been a lot of great conversation, by the way. Callie Timecat says, forest bathing. Love doing that during the first COVID lockdown, finding quiet natural places in North London. I think a lot of us during lockdowns got to experience that. Mindful eating, Alipari was saying, man, food became so much more enjoyable. It really does. You just forget. Often we just eat like a horse. I mean, not to say horses don't enjoy it, but just kind of scoffing it down. Mark says, empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. I love all this. There's so much great chat. And as Roy says, we are all part of one universe. And I have had experiences of that sometimes when I've been practicing meditation. I've been sat thinking about the feeling of gravity pulling me into the ground, and the sense of like, in the scale of this massive universe right now, I'm sitting up against this universe, like out from the planet. It's just moments like that can be really, really powerful. A fan at night can be soothing. Yeah, sounds of any kind can be really, really great, and they can help you with mindfulness because it takes you away from thinking about how your day has been. Like sleep, we'll definitely get to that. Jay says, totally agree on the rain sounds. They got me through my final year of studying. Wait, you made me fry halloumi and now I'm supposed to feel bad for eating it. Don't feel bad for eating it. Don't feel bad for eating it. So yeah, Shinrin-yoku. Sleep Symphony. What rituals signal the end of your day and the start of your rest? For me, my bedroom is a temple for rest. I don't really have posters on the wall. It's a very plain wall or room overall. And it's because my bedroom, as far as I'm concerned, is for one thing, and it's for rest and sleep. When I go in there, I try my best not to take my laptop with me, not to watch anything. When I go in there, I create an association that this is a space for rest and calming and sleep. And so you've really got to think about that transition between an active day and restful sleep. And so a few things that I would mention is association psychology is really, really powerful. And so if you are someone that does watch television in bed or on your laptop or you're on your phone, okay, they're not ideal, but let's just say you do. as a part of your wind down process, or you like to read. Some people, and I've done it in the past, you do it while laying down in bed. But I would just recommend, if you are to do it, sit up in bed. Just, get some pillows, sit up in bed and do it. Because what happens is, once you've finished watching television or your laptop or getting off your phone or you stop reading, once you put it away and you then lay down in bed, that is a physical trigger that your brain is associating lying down with sleep. Whereas if you're lying down and watching TV and then you turn it off and then you try and sleep, your body is still in the same position, and therefore it can be harder to transition between an active day or doing to resting. And so I highly recommend that. Other tips, listen to rain or have a fan on, have blackout blinds. You might have a face mask, earplugs. There's all sorts of things you can do. I highly recommend an app called Sleep Cycle that I've used for 5-6 years. It's an orange app in terms of the icon with a white clock on it. Sleep Cycle, please check it out. Roy said something very, very funny there. Canik says, I removed cable from my bedroom to save money, but I have a Rocky for YouTube videos of black screen relaxing videos. A Roku, sorry. Yeah, okay, that's great. That can work really, really, really well. What's good about the Sleep Cycle app is you can set how long it plays like rain sounds for. But like a lot of these things, it doesn't work for everyone. Adam says, I didn't get on with that sleep app. And, different things work for different people. And yes, people do blow off sleep too often. Getting good quality sleep is, it's a third of your day. Really, really important. And it's not so much how much sleep, it's about a part of the routine. So, yeah, really, really great. Battery life in terms of the app. Well, I always have my phone plugged in when I use the app, and I have it on my bedside table. So that's it. And sleep sounds and sleep playlists, plenty of them. There's a great lo-fi playlist that I've got for sleep, but I play it before I go to bed just to sort of wind down. Then I use my app to play rain music, specifically the sound of rain on the top of the roof of a car. It's amazing. It's amazing. Next up, we've got a handful more. Morning momentum. The secret to getting ahead is getting started, as Mark Twain said. And it's the idea that small steps lead to bigger strides. Some things that can really make a difference is setting out your to-do list before you go to bed, of what you want to achieve the next day. Because, for example, when I used to do videos in my living room, anytime I wanted to do a video, I would have to set up the lights, set up the tripod, the camera, and then I'd set it all up. It could take 20, 30 minutes, and then it's like, right, now I've got to do my thing on camera. And by that point, it's worn me down a bit. I haven't got the energy because I wanted to jump on camera once the energy was there. And just having those sort of barriers was a bit of a knock-on effect. Whereas now, like having this studio set up, I literally sit at my desk, turn the lights on, press go. Obviously, there's a bit of setup, but I set up a lot of things in advance. And it means I can get going with the energy that I have at the time to go for it. And that's the same with setting a routine. So some people, you think about all the decisions you can make first thing in the morning that don't need to be made then. So why not get your clothes ready for the next day? I have them outside my bathroom. So when I have a shower, I don't have to think about what I'm going to wear. I mean, my choices are very limited anyway. I'm pretty boring with my choices. It's black jeans and some t-shirt most of the time. But yeah, having that set up is important. But then also whether you have an actual task list written down or in your mind, that task list should include things like have a shower, brush your teeth, have a coffee or a tea. These things can be amazing. And you might go, but it's not really doing much having a shower. That's like expected. But by acknowledging it and even crossing it off or just acknowledging it in your mind, it can be really powerful, because by doing small things and getting them done, doing something that's a bit more, it's a build-up. Whereas if you wake up in the morning and think, right, what am I going to wear? Oh, that's one thing I've got to think about. What have I got to do today? And I've got all these big tasks to do. You're running against a big boulder. That's a big thing to go up against. Routine, though, is a tool, and it's not a stick to beat yourself with. So some days there'll be parts of your routine you don't do. And I've just been told, by the way, that the puzzle has been completed. So well done, everyone. Huge congrats. That was a really, really good effort. So well done. Great work, everyone. Next week I might, when I've got an image that is easier to do as a puzzle, like as in there's more stuff going on, we will do the toughest puzzle, which I think is a 500 piece puzzle. But well done there. Just sorting this out here. So yeah, routine is a tool, not a stick to beat yourself with. There will be times where you miss stuff out, and that's absolutely fine, because you could have done it. Don't say that instead of should. Okay, so do remember that. And something I always say on my Instagram feed, if anyone follows me on Instagram, another day is another chance to make a difference in your life, the lives of others, and the world as a whole. Every day is another chance to do better than the day before, and some days you'll have a worse day, but then the next day is another chance to do it. So you're going back to sleep can be a great reset. But there are a couple of tips I'm going to give with this that I found have worked really well with routines. I mentioned in the past that the last sort of 5 weeks I've been taking cold showers in the morning. Cold showers, it's like, what's it called? It's like managed discomfort. When you go in a cold shower, you have it cold enough that you want to get out. Oh, it's horrible. But then your body regulates, you deal with it, and you're like, I don't know, there's just something in your mind. It's the fight or flight aspect, and the fact that you sort of stepped up to it, it triggers your body, and it's a really great step. Another thing with caffeine, Andrew Huberman, the Stanford professor, really made me think about this, and I love it. I've always tried not to drink caffeine after 3 p.m. every day, but in the morning, he says, don't have caffeine for the first 90 minutes. We all wake up, put the kettle on, brew a coffee. But he says, when you wake up, your body has a natural waking up cycle. And when you have caffeine, it is just riding on that. So instead, don't have caffeine for the first 90 minutes. Just try it. Try it once. Go 90 minutes. And then treat yourself to a coffee or a tea. And what it means is once your body will have woken up naturally, you'll have had a shower, cold shower, that would have definitely helped. You might have gone for a walk in the morning. And then when you have the caffeine, it then boosts you even further, and you're going to crash much later in the day, if at all. That is my top tips. So morning momentum, really, really important. Now I just want to share one of my all-time favourite cartoons. I post this from time to time because I love it so much. And it's called How to Adult. I don't actually know who the artist is. I do need to find it out, but I just love this so much. And I love dark humour and existential dread cartoons and memes. So shop for a new tie. Make macaroni. Do cardio. Don't let the existential dread set in. Don't let it set in. Vacuum the rug. I love this so much. And I'm sure many of you will identify with this. The truth is that we're all human, and you can have people that are in senior positions, you can have people that seem very happy all the time, but the truth is we all have those moments where existential dread sets in, because as I was saying earlier, there are those times that I sit down and think about how I'm pressing against this universe. We are on a rock just hurling super fast through infinity, this black void. It's a pretty terrifying concept, but on the flip side, it's amazing that we're here. And this is just an amazing cartoon that I wanted to show as a quick break while we get to the next thing, which is thought friction. Now, this is a term I came up with a few years ago to describe the idea of keeping your thoughts in your head, and therefore the importance of giving your thoughts a voice. Now, post-pandemic life and digital social lives can be a real challenge. I work remotely, so I live home alone. I'm by myself here a lot of the time. So although I might be speaking with people online, it's kept in my head. I'm dealing with my inner monologue. I might be typing things, but I'm not really having much of a social life in those instances. And so going out and seeing people is really, really important. But when I talk about thought friction, it's the idea that if you can imagine a car tyre, you know, when people rev it up and it starts burning out and it creates smoke, that is how I think thoughts are. And it can happen a lot with anxiety, where you might have a negative thought. Maybe when you're going to bed and you're thinking like, I'm so stupid. Oh, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And the more you say it, the louder it gets. And the more these thoughts go round and round and round, it starts burning and creating friction. And it can create actual burnout for you, but it can also just wear you out. And so for me, externalize those inner tensions. It's so important that we give our thoughts a voice. Now, that can be by talking to someone about it, but it can also be by listening to music, playing music, doing some drawing, doing some writing, doing things that take your attention from inside your head, your inner monologue, and putting it out there. And we think of, like, you know, quite obvious examples, like when people are dealing with grief, they've lost someone, the top tip is just to keep busy. And there's a reason for that, because when they're not keeping busy, their attention goes inside their head and they are putting all that emphasis and focus on the grief. And that can often happen with anxiety as well. Was it Kira who's got a job interview and feeling quite anxious about that, which is totally natural. And so tying a lot of these things together, you know, foresight, definitely good to plan for the interview, but you can't do anything about the interview because the interview's not happened yet, in terms of, like, the interview is coming, so deal with the now. What can you be doing now in the meantime? You could be preparing, you could be relaxing, you could be kind to yourself, knowing that you could go to the interview, and you will be, because you can, and that's an amazing thing. And in terms of thought friction, you could be in your head just worrying about the job interview again and again, going through it around and around in your head. Maybe write notes about, you know, what your concerns are, because when you write them down, you might see it and go, actually, I've got some answers for that. So that can be really, really helpful as well. So yeah, that is a big tip for that. Two more left. This one might be a bit familiar to you, and I actually had this image on my work slides, and I told everyone about you guys, the amazing community, and how we talk about vitamin G. So I don't need to say too much about it because you know a lot about it, but here's a positive prescription. Gratitude is a superpower. It can be for a person, it can be it can be for a moment, it can be for a thing. I'm grateful right now for this water. So good. But acknowledgement alone can work. It doesn't have to be expressed externally. Obviously, if you can, that's great. But just like thinking about things, there are a couple of times where I can't sleep, or I'm struggling, or I've had a bad day. And while lying in bed, I do sort of mantras, gratitude mantras. And some of it might be, I'm feeling comfortable right now. I'm moving forward. I had a good day, you know, and I keep saying those things. And just those like mantras of gratitude, or just being, you know, not saying everything's going perfect, but just being mindful of those good things can be really, really impactful. I like this next cartoon. It's cute. The Compassionate Mind. Let me hold this book up. I always talk about it. I talk about this a lot. Professor Paul Gilbert. The Compassionate Mind. I recommend this. I've never bought a book so many times. I've bought about 20 copies and got lots of notes in it. The first half is all about the science behind compassion, as you can see there. The science behind compassion literally says it. And so, yeah, lots and lots of great info about that. And then the latter half comes with exercises. So coping with disappointment, loss and fear, compassion and action, dealing with dilemmas, compassion for feelings. And yeah, it's just got so many great pieces in the book. Working with anger, skills and exercises. So yeah, The compassionate mind absolutely changed my life. Going back to the slide, I was looking for the slide. I'm like, no, I'm on screen. It's a question of, do you lend yourself the same support and understanding as you would a friend? You know, we can be our own worst enemies. We are often incredibly cruel to ourselves. We might not be saying out loud, you're stupid, Myles, but we often think it. It's beneath the surface. If you're feeling sad, you're like, oh, why am I being like this? I mean, a lot of us do feel that from time to time, where you, in thought, are like, there's times where I'm depressed. So emotionally, I'm depressed, but my thoughts are like, I know this is a process. I'm really annoyed I feel like this right now because I want to get on with stuff. But that's not being very compassionate. You know, being thoughtful is like, yeah, I need to be, you know, take it easy and things like that. So the fact that we can be our own worst enemy is also a sign that we can also be our own best friend. I did a lot of research in my early years of YouTube, but also when I was at university, about the idea of something called expressive insight. It was the idea of, whenever you're depressed, record yourself on camera talking about those issues. It's not to say that you should publish it online, but by watching it back, you see yourself in third person, and you might end up treating yourself with a lot more respect, like you would with a friend. When a friend's going through difficulty, you don't say, oh, you're being stupid, or get over it. I mean, if you are, I suggest you have a different thought process about that. But it's important that we actually treat ourselves. We say, you know, treat others as you'd like to be treated. Treat yourself as you'd like to be treated. And so self-compassion is a real game changer. Totally changed my life. Check out the Compassionate Mind Foundation with Professor Paul Gilbert. I interviewed him on The Quest for Empathy, which is available on my YouTube channel. So check that out as well. And time to play says I call myself an idiot all the time. Often we say it jokingly, like, oh, I'm such an idiot. But sometimes when we say it a lot, we might not realize it, but we start believing it or start taking it to heart. And so we've just got to be really careful. And Canuck Tunes has just put the UK link in the chat, so thank you for that. And yeah, I like that quote. Treat yourself as you'd like to be treated. And it's not selfish, because by investing in yourself, and this is a big part of compassion, a part of compassion is acknowledging that we live in a world that has a lot of suffering and that we are strong to exist within it. But it's also about the responsibility of becoming useful. The example that Professor Paul Gilbert often gives is, if you see someone drowning in a swimming pool, you might say, I'm a compassionate person, I'm going to dive in after them. But let's say you can't swim. You're now drowning with them. So you could be like, oh, I've got a lot of empathy with you. I'm drowning too. But now you've created more suffering. You haven't been useful. So if you can't swim, grab someone who can, or learn to swim. So when that happens, I often think about wanting to become a first aider. That is something I definitely want to look into. And that is it with these. And so I just want to end today's show with a few things to look at beyond this presentation. First thing is findahelpline.com. This is in the description of the video. But as I've said, if you are struggling and you need someone to talk to and you haven't got a friend or family member available at the moment, or sometimes we just want to talk to someone completely neutral that doesn't know us. I've called the Samaritans in my life. I've been there. But findahelpline.com has international numbers and contact details. Secondly, compassionatemind.co.uk all relates to the book that I have been talking about. And third and finally, call someone. And when it comes to mental health, it's not about taking action when things get bad. Mental health and well-being. Well-being is a key term there. It's about being proactive and creating the conditions that you have the best chance of succeeding. Things aren't always going to go right. There are going to be slips along the way, and we all, have difficult moments. But call someone, and it could be a friend, it could be a family member, and just reach out and just have a conversation. I highly, highly recommend that. And that third part on the slide was actually, it said Myles Dyer Live on the one I gave at work, because I was telling people at this point that I sometimes talk about mental health and well-being, and that this is a wonderful community. And actually, there were some people that missed the presentation. I didn't record it because I wanted it to be a safe space for my colleagues to talk about their experiences. And so I linked them to this. So to any of my colleagues that are watching this, I want to say hello. Speak in the chat, or just let me know on Slack tomorrow. So with all that said, I will end it with any Q&A or comments. I know there's been a lot of conversation during this entire presentation. I want to thank everyone for being so respectful and great in the chat. Appreciate that I wasn't able to go to everything just because I didn't want to start too much. But this is a great moment to take on any questions that you may have about any of the slides I've spoken about. But also you might have some comments or suggestions of your own. And we'll do this for 5-10 minutes, and then I'll wrap this up so I can then go get some food and then get some well-deserved rest, because yes, I deserve lots and lots of rest right now. So yeah, any thoughts? Time to Play VR says, my partner has mental health issues. It's actually quite hard to deal with at times. And it is. And that's the thing. When dealing with our own, it can be a problem. It can be a real issue when dealing with other people. It takes a lot of tenacity, and it takes a lot of resilience. Resilience was the word that I was looking for earlier. Resilience is such an art. And again, there's no 100% resilience. This is something we're constantly working on. And all these things I spoke about, and what I might quickly do is just give you a quick recap of the things I spoke about. So it was the power of language, could, not should, acknowledging the gift of our present, holding a cup of water, focusing on the breath. Just every day think about, what does a full breath feel like? Ecotherapy, just go out and spend some time in nature every day if you can, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Have you created a sleep symphony? Have you actually got a transition between an active day and restful sleep? What is your sleep temple like? Morning momentum. Do you plan the next day, even if it's a few things? Do you get your clothes ready? What are the small tasks you can do that can lead to bigger ones? Thought friction. Do you live inside your head all the time? Are there ways that you can externalize those inattentions through creative means or conversation and things like that? Do you practice a daily dose of vitamin G? What are you grateful for? Just acknowledging it alone. The people, the things, the moments can be powerful. And have a compassionate mind. We can be our own worst enemy, but I recommend be your own best friend. So please consider all that. Just having a look here at the comments now. Awesome Tatum says, great advice. You'd be surprised how just talking to someone can help. Really can. I remember when phoning up the Samaritans, I thought, I don't know what I'm going to say, or I'm going to waste their time. And it was one of the best things I ever did. It was when I was talking to them, I realised how much trouble I was in. Not just dumping on them or any stigma like that. Just get it off your chest, and you are not holding it and building negativity. Mojo says, this has been a great stream, Myles. Really needed this tonight. You're amazing and very detailed and engaging. Always love it. Thank you very, very much. Hopefully this will be a good one to timestamp for people that want to watch it on replay. I think I have learned a lot by looking back on what I've written in diaries and journals the past. Sometimes thankful that I've grown out of things I didn't like about myself. And that's the thing, the past and future thing, I'm not saying we shouldn't think about the past or the future. Those are superpowers, but don't get lost in them. Learn from the past, think about the future, but live in the now. And when we look back, you often realise how far we've come. Joshua says, strange, I live in a world of nature on the beach, so for me, VR is the relaxation point. And that can be great. And that's the thing, you're still doing it. You're still doing it if you're going out there. So yeah, lots of thoughts, honestly. And this conversation continues after the live show. Go away and have a think about it. You might want to look back over these things. And, let me know your thoughts in the comments section afterwards. Yeah, I will leave it there. Okay, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. This was Myles Dyer Live. I love doing this every Wednesday, even on days like today where I am running on empty. In terms of what I'm going to eat next, I think I'm just going to have some jam on toast or something light. And although I don't normally have breakfast because I do fasting, I then can have something proper when I wake up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to some much needed rest. But I love spending time with you. I enjoy this part of the week every Wednesday. To anyone that is new, if you haven't said hello in the chat yet and don't mind doing so, please do. Would love to meet you. But do hit the subscribe button, ring the bell to be notified about all my future live shows, and hit the like button if you haven't already. I hope that you found this useful, and yeah, I just want to say thank you again. So before I end, a couple of things. Every Wednesday is Myles Dyer Live. This happens. We are approaching the 100th episode. It's just weeks away. On Friday, 11 o'clock at night, my time, I'm on PSVR Without Parole, doing Gamescast Live, all about PlayStation virtual reality with the wonderful Brian Poole. And then at weekends, it's Let's Plays. So the question is, what is this weekend's Let's Play? Some of you guessed it already. It is, we've just talked about mental health and well-being and, calm and niceties. This is actually quite a violent game because it is Pavlov. Pavlov is what we will be doing on Saturday, May the 6th. And it's going to be a bit of a late one just because it's quite a violent game. So I thought I'll do it a bit later in the evening. It's going to be at 9 p.m. UK time, which is 10 p.m. if you're in Europe. It's 4 p.m. on the East Coast and 1 p.m. on the West Coast. And yes, this is a multiplayer game. So you will be able to tune in. I will have people muted, obviously, because I need to protect myself from, unfortunately, some toxic elements of the public communities. But I will be hosting that. I would love to do some TTT, which is the social one. But for that, I would have to get a group of 10 of us to do it, just people I can trust to make that really work. So if I get time, I'll try and organise that in the meantime. But at the very least, anyone that plays virtual reality and has Pavlov on PSVR 2, you'll get to fight me or maybe fight alongside me. We will have to give it a go. But for those that don't know about this game, here is a little look at Pavlov VR. There we go, everyone. Pavlov is this Saturday. It is going to be a lot of fun. And if you want to lie down on the floor in the game, you have to physically do it. So that'll be quite an interesting one to see on camera. I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's going to be great. And Mark says, I will be down for some Walkabout Golf when that comes out in 8 days. Yes, Walkabout Golf, that I cannot wait to play in VR. That will be a lot of fun. That is it for me this week. Thank you to everyone in the chat for tuning in and being a part of just another great conversation. I love your positivity. I love your thoughtfulness and your compassion and your empathy. The Discord that I'm working on is called Empathy Arcade, and Empathy Arcade will be opening to all of you in the coming weeks. I've got a few things I just need to tweak before releasing it. I can't wait for you to check it out. Do hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe, ring the bell, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. But as always, I want to say a huge thank you to our moderators in the chat: Mojo, Karina, Callie Timecat, Canuck Tunes, all the mods, and just everyone else, all the regulars. I love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful week. Be kind to yourself. And as always, it's now time for your thoughts. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thought I saw you on the road. I was chasing sunsets all alone. The darkness faded, painting goodbye big sky. Far away but dreaming of your ocean eyes. Thought I saw you on the road. I was chasing sunsets all alone. The darkness faded, painting goodbye big sky. I'm far away but dreaming of your ocean eyes. Thought I saw you on the road. I was chasing sunsets all alone. The darkness faded, painting goodbye big sky. Far away but dreaming of your ocean eyes.
Thank you, everyone. Just want to say, I'm surprised how well that went. Yeah, I need to rest. Talking about food was probably not a good idea considering I was hungry, but I'm sort of so energized from today that I've really lost all sense of my body and everything I've got going on. So yeah, I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you on Friday's show for PSVR Vault Pro, and I'll see you on Saturday for the weekend. Got some great guests lined up over the coming weeks. So yeah, all really, really, really exciting stuff. Love you all. Have a good one. And yes, I will get some rest. Thank you very much, everyone. Much love.